Alright, so this last one is probably the trickiest of the bunch. My first thought was to go ahead and factor the bottom. So that's going to give me x minus 6, x minus 2. Then, if you realize you have x minus 6, x minus 2, and a combination. So my denominators, we could do a couple different things. We could go through and get a common denominator so that we could push these together and then cross multiply and divide, which is perfectly fine. But the shortcut that I like to do is what we call clear the denominators. We don't like working with fractions, so if we get rid of them, it just makes life a whole lot easier. So what you do is you go through, and we're going to multiply the entire equation by everything we find in the denominator. So I see an x minus 6. I'm going to list that up here. And you go to the next fraction, x minus 2. That's not a repeat, so we're going to list it. Then we come here and we have x minus 6 and x minus 2, which are already listed, so we just leave them. Both of these are going to go to all three fractions. And when we do that, things will cancel at each one. So when we push on both of the first, the x minus 6's will cancel. So that's going to leave x minus 2 on the top, x minus 6 on the bottom. Because remember, these are like x minus 2 over 1. So it's that times that, bottom times bottom. So keep that in mind. We'll go back to the beginning, take it to the second factor. And we have an x that was there to begin with. X minus 2's will cancel, so x minus 6 is left. I'm not sure why I wrote that down there, because we canceled it. That's why we wanted to. And then we're going to go back to the beginning and multiply them through to the third fraction. We had a 4 at the top, and both of them are going to cancel, so that's all we're left with. Now it's a whole lot easier. So we're just going to go through. We have x minus 2 plus x squared minus 6x equals 4. I see it's a quadratic, so I'm going to bring everything to one side and rearrange it. Minus 5x minus 6. And then when we go to factor, we have x minus 6, x plus 1. And then all we have to do is solve it. So x equals positive 6 and negative 1. So if you can clear denominators, you create a linear equation or a quadratic equation that is a whole lot easier to work with if you don't like the fractions.